Joining us now, Republican Senator Britt of Alabama, who just spoke with President Trump yesterday. Thanks so much for being here, Senator Britt. Good to see you. So your colleague, Senator Murphy of Connecticut, a Democrat, just tweeted the 940-page bill that kicks 16 million Americans off their health care to fund a giant tax cut for the rich, referring to this, and not a single Republican senator has read it. That's a big line of attack from the Democrats.
That's absolutely not truthful, and you've got one right here that has. Look, Speaker Mike Johnson said about 85% of this bill is the House bill. We have been working on this, Jake, since September, tirelessly thinking about what we would do when we took control. We've had over 51 meetings about this. These different provisions that have been put out, as they've been put out, we've been reading, we've been talking, we've been figuring out how we can make them best for the American people, because at the end of the day, we know we have to deliver results. President Trump ran on this. He said, we are going to change America for the better. We're going to make sure that hardworking people can keep more of their money. We're going to make sure that we have secure borders, not just now, but for generations to come. We're going to make sure that we have a strong national defense so that our warfighter is the best trained, equipped, and ready across the planet. We're going to unleash American energy. And we're going to make sure that people who have been unseen are seen. We want to make sure that these programs are available for the people who need them, and we want to make sure that people who are working know that we see them and that they have a greater opportunity to achieve the American dream, and that's what this bill does.
So this bill, when do you expect the final vote to be, and will it pass?
Yeah, so right now, obviously, you see Senator Schumer having the entire bill read. So clerks actually have to do that for the people who are watching this. So they're doing that all through the night. And then they'll be doing that probably for, I think they're about halfway through now. So we're looking, if current pace continues, probably finishing about 3 o'clock. After that, Jake, we will move into debate. Democrats will have 10 hours. Republicans will have 10 if they so choose. I would assume Democrats take all 10 of their hours. Republicans may take a few to continue to make the case for this great piece of legislation, and then after that we'll start voting. So I will actually be in the chair tonight. I am signed up between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. So if anyone is bored or needs an opportunity to put themselves to sleep, C-SPAN 2. But I'd imagine if it currently tracks, that's likely when we'll start voting on amendments. And amendments will come from both sides, Jake. And actually, there is no limit to how many people can bring. So I think you'll see some fruitful debate on the floor, and we'll see what we ultimately end up with.
Probably a vote on Monday, you think?
I would think so.
So there is some criticism of what's in this bill from Republicans, too, not just from Democrats. As you know, Alaska Senator Murkowski only voted to proceed with debate after Senate leaders exempted Alaska from key Medicaid and food stamp provisions in the bill. North Carolina's Tom Tillis voted no because he said he's worried about the Medicaid provision adjustments, cuts will cost his state tens of billions of dollars. Missouri's Josh Hawley voted for it, but is trying to delay some of the Medicaid provisions. And he says that the GOP, quote, can't be cutting health care for working people and for poor people in order to constantly give special tax treatment to corporations. That's a lot of pushback from within your own party.
Look, I would absolutely agree with that, and that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. We want hardworking Americans to keep more of their taxpayer dollars, and we also want to make sure that these programs are alive and well for the people that they were intended for. I mean, if you think about it, Jake, the entitlement spending in this nation is absolutely out of control. You can rewind back to the 1960s when actual mandatory spending, which is what these entitlements are, only made up about a third of federal spending. Now, if you take that plus the interest on our debt, it's about 73% of what we spend. We are spending at a rate that we cannot continue. And ultimately, that means that these programs would one day be insolvent for the very people that need them. We're trying to make structural reforms that make these programs stronger and make them be able to actually last and be there for the people who need that assistance. We want them to be safety nets, not hammocks that people stay in, but getting people on their feet so that they can achieve the American dream. That's what they were intended for. And Jake, that's what we have an obligation to do, is preserve them for the very people who they were meant to serve.
Well, let's talk about them in terms of your constituents, because there are about 760,000 Alabamans who rely on Medicaid. The bill will also cut federal funding for food stamps. It will require states to kick in more and shift a lot of that cost to Alabama. And that's more than 750,000 Alabamans who rely on what we're going to call food stamps, including 330,000 children. So are you guaranteeing that these changes that you were voting for Monday, presumably, will not hurt recipients in Alabama of Medicaid, of food stamps or SNAP, for those who are citizens and for those who truly need it and deserve it?
Absolutely. So when you look at Medicaid, children, obviously, we have the Children's Health Insurance Program. So children are absolutely not touched by this. Same thing when it comes to SNAP benefits. So we've made sure that that is taken off the table. What you're talking about is able-bodied, working-aged Americans without dependents at home, having them work, train, volunteer in some capacity 20 hours a week in order to receive those government benefits. This goes back to Bill Clinton era politics, when you know that being a part of something bigger than yourselves, helping to contribute, is ultimately what we need to do. And it's actually the American people agree with us on this. But when you look at what's happening in Alabama specifically, you know, you think about what you mentioned with regards to SNAP. What we're doing on that is ensuring that states have some skin in the game. If you have an error rate that is down below 6%, which Alabama is about a percentage point, a little bit over that, above that, we will have time. We have several years to make sure that we get that percentage point down. And I have every faith and belief that we will. We've got to make sure that these overpayments, underpayments that are happening, we've seen it in our own state where people's benefits are being stolen from other states, that stuff stops. If states, obviously under the Biden administration, we stopped that accountability during for the SNAP program, reinstituting it and ensuring that states have some skin in the game will ultimately help us be able to deliver these resources and services that these people so desperately need.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard your fellow Senator Tuberville talk about he's worried that your state can't afford it. Your state can't afford to pick up the slack.
What we can afford to do is get it right. And so if you think about moving that percentage rate down, right now states have no incentive to actually get it right, to do the numbers, to check them. And if you think about that, nobody across the country wants a state to be able to freeload. You ultimately have some states that have over a 60% error rate in this. We've got to get it right because we have to preserve these programs. If you go back to this entitlement spending, we want it to be there for the people who need it most. The rate in which we're spending now, there's no way that it will be. And so we're ensuring that states have some skin in the game and there's some accountability for them actually making sure that those payments go to the people who need them.
So there's a slew of polling about this bill, as I'm sure you know. Pew, Kaiser, Quinnipiac, Washington Post, Fox, all of it suggesting that this legislation right here is not popular with the American people. Senator Tillis reportedly warned Republicans that you could face major losses in the midterm elections because of what's in this bill. He compared it to the backlash Democrats faced after passing Obamacare. And former First Buddy Elon Musk called this bill, quote, political suicide for the Republican Party. If Republicans lose the House or the Senate or both over this legislation, will it be worth it?
Look, the reforms in this bill are necessary, and we're going to deliver actual solutions to the American people, and I am excited about that. And I think when the American people actually get to see this in fruition, they absolutely are going to be too. I mean, you think about the things we're doing, like securing the border, not just now. We won't always have a President Trump who immediately came in and got border crossings down to basically zero. I mean, if you think about where we are there versus the influx under the Biden administration, if you think about where we've been in our national defense, not only has President Trump reinvigorated our armed services, and we've seen recruiting rates go through the roof. You look at what he's been able to achieve just in the last 2 weeks. People know that we need to make sure our warfighters are the best trained, equipped, and ready across the planet. This bill does that. This bill does no tax on tips. It does, no tax on overtimes. Real hardworking Americans are going to see results of this. And one thing that we haven't talked enough about is childcare. The childcare provisions in this piece of legislation, I was the tip of the spear on that. We have actually not updated those since 86 with regards to DCAP, so under Reagan. And then you move forward when it comes to the other two provisions of childcare. The tax structure, we haven't done that since 2001. Look, the affordability and accessibility of childcare is challenging for parents and hardworking Americans across the board. Because of this piece of legislation, they're going to be able to keep more of their hard-earned money, and businesses, large and small, are going to be empowered to be a part of the solution. So these are real, tangible things that Americans are going to see, and they're going to like what they see when this goes into effect.
On the policy and the politics, one thing that I don't know what happened to it was there was a time when President Trump and his supporters like Steve Bannon were talking about maybe keeping the tax cuts for everybody except for people who are rich. And by rich, I mean making more than $1 million a year. Here's what Trump and Bannon had to say about it.
I actually think it's good politics to do it where richer people give up, and it's a very small, it's like a point, but they give it up to benefit people at a lower income.
The current system we have is not sustainable. It's just not. We're kidding ourselves. You have to go to an alternative. I think the alternative is budget cuts, and it has to be tax increases on the wealthy.
Whatever happened to that idea? I mean, not that I'm here to give tips to you, but that would make this bill more popular.
Well, I think that...
And also more financially responsible.
Well, if you look at back over the last several years, obviously Democrats have had two bites at the apple when it comes to reconciliation, and at neither time did they touch that. It's because they understand that when you're looking for job growth and you're looking to actually build the economy, they know that the TCJA worked. And so us being able to continue to make sure that we're creating opportunity for Americans coast to coast, the numbers showed themselves that the economy began moving. The numbers that we had seen previously from OMB were put to shame. And President Trump's previous TCJA actually made significant strides in that direction as far as moving the economy coast to coast. And if that had not been the case, then you know that Democrats and their two bites at the apple with regards to reconciliation would have taken care of that.
Alabama Senator Katie Britt, thank you for being here bright and early. Appreciate it.